Hi everyone, this is Holly from Hot Humble Pie. Welcome to my Christmas series. This next one is fun. You're just going to grab 2 of these Dollar Tree lanterns and 2 of their candlestick holders. And I'm just starting by removing all of the little tags and the little metal pieces on the top. Next, you're going to pop out the candles that come in the bottom of them. They just pop out really easy, so no worries there. And they also fit the standard little candles they sell as well, so if those burn out, they are replaceable, which is nice. Next, I'm taking some Waverly chalk paint in the color ink, which is essentially just black, and I'm going to paint these entire lanterns inside and out black. Now, I would recommend you use spray paint. It's just it was raining that day and I didn't want to do it in the basement because of the odors. I didn't have my fan set up. So I just went ahead and did chalk paint, but these really are prone to chipping, and I think spray paint definitely is the way to go for this one. Next, I'm going to show you a really neat holly little hack here that I've been using for years. I just didn't think to mention it to you guys until now. I usually seal anything black where you can see that it's just paint on plastic with hairspray, not to really seal it because this is going to need more, but it makes it look more like wrought iron that way. Check it out. Do you see how the hairspray leaves all that splotchiness? That's the bad thing about hairspray. If you want to try and seal with it, it comes out splotchy. But for this purpose, for adding texture, adding realism, trying to make something look like metal that's plastic, it is perfect. It's an awesome effect. And you just spray it and then dry it. I usually like to sponge on some paint on the candles also for a faux wax, but I discovered the hard way here when I went to push these back in. They are such a tight fit that it actually scraped off some of the paint. So either skip that part or do it after you get the candles in. I had to touch it up through the little windows there. So for embellishment, I'm just adding some bows here with ribbons and colors that I have for my other decor. We kind of have a theme going this year, and I just put it on with the black wire from the Dollar Tree. Now I'm going to put glue on the back of the bow to add, sorry, you can hear my cat. He wants to come inside. We're going to add some pine to the bow underneath here so that we can reuse these candlestick holders for other seasons. For the lanterns that sit on top, I'm just going to use the double-sided sticky tape they sell at the Dollar Tree because it's not that sticky, so it's actually perfect for this. You can just put it down and that way you can change out the candle when they burn out. I'm adding some Baker twine bows on the top. These would be great for a tablescape. If you have guests over at Christmas, let me know what you think. I got this cheese grater at the Family Dollar for $1, and I decided to go ahead and try to make it look like an antique. I saw a few things online which I thought were so cute. They're trending right now, the little cheese graters all decorated for different holidays. So I wanted to have a try, and $1 is a great deal. Now remember, the Family Dollar is also owned by Dollar Tree, so if you can't find these for $1 at the Dollar Tree, I've never seen this style of cheese grater there before, try the Family Dollar. So I'm starting off with pewter gray from Apple Barrel Paint. That's my favorite color to kind of start with. You just rub it all over and sponge it on to make the shine go away. So that's the first thing you want to do. Next, I'm using the color Nutmeg. For those of you that watch my channel, you know that Nutmeg Brown is the favorite for me from Apple Barrel Paint for faux rust. You can go ahead and you can do the cinnamon trick on this too if you really want to get into it. I'm just going to use the paint because I'm just looking to age it a little bit. And this is really something that takes practice. And if you make a mistake and you're not happy with something, you can always blow dry and paint over and then start again. You can see here I'm using my heat gun and I'm drying it to do the second step here because I'm going to go ahead and add black now. I try to add black on the edges of everything because that's where when I've seen antiques, that's where they get darker, is usually on the edges. I don't know what happens there, if it's a form of oxidization. It's probably some kind of oxidization, but they get darker where there was heavy use. So I use the black for that, and then I'm still going over with the gray in places, painting over it, adding the nutmeg. This is definitely something, again, you do by eye. You just keep working with it and playing with it until you're comfortable with how it looks. And now we're going to use the hairspray trick again. Any hairspray should work for this. So you spray and you blow dry, or I'm using a heat gun, but either one will work. So, but you do it as you go. So as you're spraying, you're drying at the same time, and that's how you get that look. Next, I'm taking this ticking stripe ribbon I got from Amazon. The link is down below in my description box. It wasn't a bad price at all when I bought it. And this is my second time of buying this. And the first time I actually gave it away because we moved. I wasn't even halfway through it. It's a good deal for what you get. And I'm just gluing 2 loops together here. I'm showing you what I'm doing. I'm doing a slit on either side so that the twine fits in there nice. I'm going to tie it, and then I'm going to puff these loops out. This is a 4-loop bow. I have a video called how to make a Christmas bow, and it's down below in my description box. If you're curious, it is time stamped. You can look up a 4-loop bow, and it will be very, very similar to what I just showed you, only I'm looping these. I'm going to puff them out a little bit, but I'm going to be tying them onto the cheese grater. Now here's the rest trick for those of you that don't know. My Dollar Tree finally had some bells and Christmas things out, so I grabbed these bells. I painted them with the nutmeg brown. You can use just glue if you want, but I'm doing the nutmeg brown, and while it was wet, I sprinkled the cinnamon on, and that's it. And you get a really nice faux rust. And of course, you saw me saving the cinnamon. I dump it back in there for future uses. So now I'm adding some of the baker's twine on either one of these little bells here, tying it because we're going to be looping this around my little grater for sure. And I did put a little dot of hot glue on top of the knots so that that doesn't come out. For my last haul, I found these. I was so excited because they feel and look like wood. I went ahead and picked them up, and we're going to use this one today. Again, using the nutmeg brown, I'm going to go around with my little sponge Doppler there and sponge on this color and kind of paint over the top too a little bit. You'll see me kind of rub it. Again, you have to do it by eye, but you're just getting this tag to match the antique look so that it's in a theme, because we don't want like a really old cheese grater and then a brand new tag. So I'm trying to get everything to kind of be in a theme, and I'm adding hairspray again on the bells. Well, that was more to hold the cinnamon on. You just saw me lift it up. And here I've got a mix of black and nutmeg brown on my sponge, and I'm showing you how that made a really pretty faux wood for the back of these tags. No one's really going to see the back, but just in case, I made the back look like a faux wood grain. And I added a little black as well on these tags, and there's also a white bead that I'm kind of coloring with my little Doppler there. It's a mix of brown and black, but I'm just distressing everything so that everything matches. I'm going to go ahead and tie this tag on the cheese grater with the bells, and that's going to be one of my little embellishments that hang off. Next, we're adding the bow that I made. We're tying that on. I wanted to tie everything on and not glue. That's totally up to you, but I did that just in case, you know, I want to change it up for different seasonal decor. I thought it would be pretty for each season to decorate this cheese grater, or even just have it out as decoration plain, because that's also cute, I think, little antique cheese graters. But anyway, I'm just gluing some pine down, and then you can use this like a vase. So I'm sticking some pine down the center, adding a pine cone into the bow, because I wasn't really liking the way the loops were looking in the front. So I went ahead and glued that big pine cone in the middle. I'm adding some berries, and I'm trimming the pine. Do you see that? Because I cut those big pieces of pine up, the pick that you see I'm putting in right now, I cut those into little pieces, and obviously they don't always look like they're the end of the branch. You know how it's supposed to have that graduated little tip? So I go ahead and trim it in the graduated tip, and I'm adding some different pine in the back. Now I'm using a baby wipe, and I'm just adding some flocking to the pine cone and to the top of the berries here for just a little extra. And the last final touch is taking some more of the ticking stripe ribbon, twirling it kind of like a candy cane, not a candy cane, but like those candy sticks. I think this was so perfect. Now I'm going to be careful and not glue it onto the cheese grater. Again, I want to have this up maybe all year with no decor on, change out the seasonal bows. So I'm gluing it on the inside of one of the bow loops, but it drapes down really pretty and creates a wonderful backdrop for the rest of the embellishment that's hanging to the left side. I think this came up so beautiful and unique. Let me know what you think. So last year I decorated the Dollar Tree cookie sheet with a gingerbread man, and I thought it would be fun this year to take the pie tin and do something about Mrs. Claus. So I googled Christmas pie tin for some inspiration. Some SVGs came up that I loved, but I had to change it up a little bit because of copyright with the font and the borders. But up came this one from the Crazy Craft Lady. I loved the idea of the wreath. If you happen to be watching Crazy Craft Lady, thank you so much. I will leave her link down below in my description box. I created 4 different choices for you today because I was having so much fun. Today we are using this one, and let's get crafting. So here's the thing that made me giggle. This is actually a cake pan. I thought it was a pie tin, so there you go. So here's my free printable on tissue paper. I will have the video down below in my description box and the starting point for where I give instruction on how to print on tissue paper. This is my favorite way to transfer because you really almost can't see it and you can do really intricate things. Now, obviously if you stencil and things like that, it looks even better, but you don't get to print up the intricate designs. Like you could actually print landscape up on tissue paper and put it on there. I mean, it's amazing. And I will show you at the end of this video just how much you cannot see where it begins and ends. So I gave this a nice little roughing up with some sanding, and I'm just wiping off the dust with some tissue. I am choosing to use the Folk Art little cottage white chalk paint there because that one has stronger adhesion power than Waverly. That is definitely designed more for furniture. In fact, if I let it dry too long in my brush, it's really difficult to get out. So this is where you want to go if you're not going to use spray paint. Again, it was raining for me, so I didn't use spray paint. For me, I like it a little rustic, so I'm using the just paint. I like the brush marks this time, and the flag red in apple barrel paint. I chose to use a sponge to apply this to try and stay on the edge as much as possible. It's really hard with these cake pans, as it turns out, so I do have to go back after it's dry and just touch up my red a little bit where I felt like it went over the edge just a little bit too much. But if you're not too picky or you like things rustic, you don't have to do that. Here I am, I'm just going back and fixing it up a little bit because I did want this one to be pretty clean along the edges. As it turns out, my Corningware little tiny plate was the perfect template for the bottom of this cake pan. It fit perfect, and so I just traced it out and we're going to cut it out. Now I went ahead and cut all the way through the cardstock because cardstock is not expensive and I feel like I get a cleaner cut. I have more control that way. You don't have to do that. You can actually take the tape off and reuse your cardstock. Now I'm just trimming off here to make sure there's no pencil left behind because obviously that will show a border I don't want. And there you go. That's how it fits in my pie pan. I think that looks so nice. I also always glue my tissue paper down half at a time because you center it and you hold it with your hand to make sure it doesn't move. It just gives you way more control. If you just put glue all over your pan and then try to put your image down, you will sometimes be very disappointed once it's stuck if it's not on straight. So it's always safer to put it exactly where you want it, hold it down, glue half of it, and then glue the other half. And by the way, the glue stick is the one I use because it guarantees there will be no bleeding with your ink and there will be no bubbles or lines or anything when you press it down. You can always seal this with a mist of clear varnish. That's a good idea because if you just put Mod Podge on it, 1, you will risk that it will wrinkle, and 2, you will risk the ink will bleed. So to prevent that, you just mist it. And I do mean mist it lightly with a clear varnish. And then you can go ahead and do the Mod Podge if you want to, or you can just stop with a clear varnish. Now, some people mention hairspray. I did show you what hairspray does. It's not the most ideal. You can try it, but it could ruin your craft, and it does tend to yellow. So I just want to give you a heads up before you do it, because I don't want you guys to get upset if your craft is ruined. It's a little riskier to use hairspray. I would definitely spray it on something you don't care about first to see how it's going to come out of its little spray nozzle. So now I'm adding some baker's twine, and I'm showing you if you want to do this with hot glue and you don't want the hot glue to show a whole bunch, you have to go super, super slow and careful. But I just thought that added a really cute border. And again, I have my Christmas decor in a little theme this year, so I'm kind of sticking with the theme. It's a little bit of that candy cane stripes and that little candy up in the right hand corner there, the peppermint candy. That's kind of what I'm doing this year. So I'm adding some pine with just a little tiny bit of hot glue. I thought that was pretty. And one of the little peppermint candies I got from Temu, super cheap. I think it was like $24 for $3. And that's it. And I think this came out so well. Now I'm showing you here so close that my camera actually is almost hitting the pie pan, but I'm trying to show you how you cannot see the edge of the tissue paper. When I say it vanishes into the paint, it even takes the shape of your paint strokes. So it's just a great way to transfer your images. But I think this came up so cute. I'm going to put it in one of those little plate stands next to my microwave when Christmas comes up. And I would love to know again what you guys think. For this one, you're going to start off with some of the tumbling tower blocks and some wood glue. Although I do not like this wood glue, I did purchase some Gorilla wood glue or Loctite. These are good ones, the ones that you find like at Home Depot or Lowe's or even Menards, hardware stores, any hardware store. The Dollar Tree one, it's very light yellow, and I just have my doubts about it. I didn't feel like it was as strong when it dried. So I'm gluing them together in these little L shapes, as you can see, and you're just going to glue a whole bunch of them in little L shapes. Someone actually asked me to make a Christmas tree out of Jenga blocks recently, so I guess it's like the tumbling tower for the Dollar Tree, so this is what I'm doing today. Now I just started putting them together like this, and you can see that that would form a really pretty Christmas tree. You could certainly do this. This would work perfect. In fact, I may make a second one just like this. But I didn't want mine to be so uniform on the left and the right hand side. I wanted some unevenness. That was just what I was envisioning more. I think the Christmas tree looks maybe cuter that way, not so perfect. So I just played with them and kind of switched them around. And when I actually stain this, that's when you'll see what the pattern is that I did. You see it clearer for some reason. But for now, I'm gluing them together, and I'm putting hot glue on one side and the wood glue on the other side. And of course, one is for the instant hold so you can keep moving, and the other one is for the permanent hold when you have good wood glue. So what wood glue does, for those of you that don't know, is it actually forms a very strong bond with raw wood at a molecular level. So if you actually try to pull the wood apart, you often will take, like the wood will break away and go with the glue. It's almost as good as nails or a screw, and sometimes better depending on what the circumstances are, but you do need to use it on raw wood for that effect, or lightly like maybe like a whitewash, or a wax is waxy, so I would say stick with a water-based stain or a water-based acrylic. But anyway, we are on to the trunk of this little tree. Now you saw me add one at the bottom there. That was just because I didn't like the way it looked on that one side, so I added one more to the left-hand side, and then I was looking for something that would fit in that little pointed area. So these are the stakes from the Dollar General. I saved the top of them, save everything, you guys, because it's working really good for a little trunk for this tree. And the wood round at the bottom, I got 6 of those at Temu for under $2. So now I'm taking my antique wax, it's folk art, just watering it down and doing like a stain on this tree. Now if you don't have a pointed little stake for the end of this tree, you just have a branch, you could always make it pointed by wrapping something on top, some twine, some sisal rope, anything kind of smushy like that, even air dry clay, you could probably form it down there to make the point, because you'll see here in a minute how I disguise that little area where it joins together so that you don't see it so much. I did stain both the front and back of this because it is pretty thick and you're going to see the back. Now I do have another great idea for a tumbling tower Christmas tree. I just ran out of tumbling tower blocks, so I'm going to go ahead and order them. And Dee from She's So Crafty, who is also my best friend here on YouTube, told me that you don't have to buy a whole bunch at the Dollar Tree at one time. You can buy them in different quantities, and if you ship them to the store, it is free. So for those of you that have a hard time finding them, they also tend to come out around Christmas time because they use them as stocking stuffers, so keep your eye out. And there's a link down below in my description box to the Dollar Tree as well. So next for this tree, I chose to use some of that Excelsior grass and just put a little tiny bit at the bottom where it joins to hide it. I did it again both on the front and the back. If you're like me and you love to collect unique, different trees for your Christmas tree collection, this one definitely hits the mark. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. I really do love you guys. And as always, until the next video, breathe deep, fret not, and do things that make you happy.